For fluid reasoning, she did score in the 5th percentile, which is in the very low range. It does indicate that she's having a pretty significant difficulty with her abstract visual reasoning and problem solving. So that was a need for her as well. Although her figure weights, where it assesses like the quantitative and analogical reasoning, basically just to balance out the problems. She actually scored 10, and she was in the 50th percentile, which is the average range. So her visual reasoning task, her performance is age appropriate. The next one is her work in memory, and that was digit span and picture span. She scored very low in her digit span, which her digit span is just, it measures her auditory working memory, her attention, and the ability to hold that and manipulate the verbal information that she's getting. So it's just that auditory working memory she's getting from hearing the instruction. She placed in the 5th percentile, which is in the very low range. And so that is a significant need for her as well. And we're seeing that with that digit span, it can cause difficulty with following multi-step directions and early literacy development. So this really explains a little bit of why she would be struggling in that math and why she would be struggling with those multi-step problems, as well as her early literacy with her phonics and things like that. Overall, it does show that there is an area of need, and that correlates. For processing speed, or for processing speed, she had coding and symbol search, which was both low. Coding, it was just a visual motor coordination. It's her processing efficiency. She scored in the low range, and so that would just affect her when she's trying to complete assignments under timed conditions. So just being noted that, she may need a little more extra time, and that may be a good accommodation for her. For symbol search, she scored low in that, which is also that processing speed. Same thing. It's just, it indicates that she may have difficulty processing visual information quickly and accurately. So overall, her processing speed was an area of concern for her, which makes sense whenever we're discussing some of the areas of concern that we've noted, or noticed in the classroom, as well as mom and dad at home. So overall, she demonstrates average verbal reasoning abilities. It indicates that adequate cognitive potential for learning for her. Her overall cognitive profile is kind of uneven. She had significant weaknesses in auditory working memory and processing speed. She had difficulty retaining and manipulating auditory information and performing tasks requiring rapid visual scanning and symbol discrimination. And they are all expected to negatively impact the development of her phonological skills, reading fluency, spelling, and written expression. And it's a cognitive pattern that we commonly see in dyslexia. So we did decide, based on that information, that we would like to test her for dyslexia, just because we were seeing that pattern. So we did test her for dyslexia. We gave her the CTOP 2, and basically what this does is it tests her phonological awareness, her phonological memory, and her rapid symbolic naming. On all of those, she scored either in the below average or very poor range, other than her blending of words, and she was above average. But her overall composite score for her CTOP, for her dyslexia testing, for phonological awareness, she was in the 4th percentile, which, it was very poor, and her rapid symbolic naming was below average. But the thing with that is that we've seen that, and now we know that okay, this is all kind of starting to piece together. We're seeing these patterns, and maybe this is, part of what is happening and why she's struggling. And so we're seeing that in the testing, not just in the classroom. So, Mom, we do hear your concerns about her reading. For overall, she scored the composite scores, they were both pretty low. She does demonstrate a significant deficit in phonological processing, and particularly in her phonological awareness and her phonological memory. Her performance on task requiring the manipulation of speech sounds and the retention of her phonological information fell in the very poor range. Her rapid naming skills were below average. It does indicate reduced efficiency in assessing phonological information, and according to the Texas Dyslexia Handbook, deficits in phonological processing are a core characteristic of dyslexia and directly impact decoding, spelling, and reading fluency. So we did see those challenges for her, and overall, we do feel that she could qualify as a student with dyslexia. We do think that she compensates well for this. She's doing great, but we are seeing those challenges and those struggles. And then we took a writing sample as well. And these are just some of her writing examples that we had. This is her writing her name. This was her writing her ABCs. And as you can tell, just in her writing alone, we knew that, obviously there was something going on there. So that's another reason why we decided to do this dyslexia testing. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so we're at the portion of her summary of adaptive behavior performance. She demonstrates age-appropriate adaptive behavior skills across all of her school settings. She's able to follow classroom routines. She complies with adult direction. She transitions well between her activities. She engages appropriately with her peers and the teachers. She demonstrates adequate self-help skills. She has appropriate communication for her age, although we do have that frontal lisp that we've talked about that will be addressed. And her ability to participate in her daily classroom expectations, we don't think that she needs any kind of support. During the assessment, she displayed appropriate attention. Whenever I was testing her, she had great cooperation. She was persistent with her task. She independently attempted the assigned activities and responded positively to encouragement and feedback. There were no concerns noted that I noticed in her areas of socialization, communication, self-care, or functional independence. Overall, there's no adaptive behavior concerns. So that's great. Whenever I had her and she was testing with me, she was so sweet. Everything she did, she had a positive attitude about. She's just overall just such a positive kid, and I loved getting to know her. We established rapport very quickly. We talked about her interest, and she never got off topic. After we just established that rapport, she was just ready to do whatever she needed to do, and she did it with a smile on her face. And I was just so impressed because of her age. She stayed with it and never gave up. And so just overall, just a sweet kid. I've said that a lot, but we really, really enjoy having her here with us. So just wanted to reiterate that. For teacher feedback, according to her teacher report, she's currently working below grade level in reading, and she continues to struggle despite her classroom supports. So these are just kind of like her present levels that we're going to talk about. The teacher did indicate that she attends tutorials and she still continues to struggle academically. Her grades are not reflective of grade level expectations and require teacher assistance. For decoding and basic reading skills, the teacher checklist indicated weaknesses in reading and decoding skills. She can correctly name alphabet letters, recognizes her name in print, and she can read from left to right. She demonstrates difficulty with phonics space skills. She just does not consistently demonstrate knowledge of vowel patterns, consonant blends, digraphs, or phonetic cueing systems. She does often guess at words based on the pictures she sees, or maybe just those initial letters rather than just decoding them accurately, which, we've seen in her in the classroom. Mom has also noted that when they're reading, sometimes she cannot decode the word enough to know. And so she wants to read, and she finds that so important. So she's just wanting to read so bad that sometimes using those pictures as clues, she feels successful. So we want her to feel successful and also be able to use those skills appropriately. So we're going to get her there, and I know that's her goal, is that she wants to read more efficiently and not have to depend on the pictures and the letters at the beginning. And that's also something that the student has said as well, that she would like to be able to read with her peers. So that's what we're aiming for. We're going to get there. For reading fluency, the teacher stated that there is a significant weakness in reading fluency. She does not demonstrate fluent oral reading. She reads words word by word with limited expression. So it's more like she's not reading it as a sentence, she's reading it as just a word. So it's not really putting it all together, which can impact her comprehension, because if she's just reading it word for word and she's not reading it fluently, then there's going to be that miscommunication there, because she's really just reading the words individually and it's not all coming together for her, which we've seen in the classroom as well as the teacher, and at home whenever she's reading at night. I know Mom and Dad, they've stated the same thing. So that was one of the things with her fluency, is she has difficulty putting it all together, and she just would rather read it word by word. She also has difficulty attending to punctuation and reading with appropriate phrasing and prosody. So overall, her reading fluency was an area of weakness for her. For reading comprehension, she demonstrates difficulty comprehending grade level text. She can orientate a book appropriately. She can turn the pages correctly, and she uses picture and context clues, which she does very well. And she struggles to understand her age-appropriate passages, though. She does have difficulty identifying the main ideas, supporting details, sequencing events, summarizing passages, comparing and contrasting, and following written directions independently. Her comprehension improves when decoding demands are reduced. So when she's not having to decode, then the material is read aloud to her. It's easier for her, and she prefers that, which we all would, because it's hard to sit there and have to struggle. So, and we know that she loves to read and she loves stories, so she would prefer someone read them to her just because she loves it so much. And so we're hoping that with all of this, that her love for reading continues. Her learning skills related to reading, the teacher indicated that she does have weaknesses in retaining instruction, understanding instructions, and locating information in text. Her strengths were noted, though, that she's very organized. She follows classroom rules, and she seeks assistance when needed, which she does. Like I said, she's just persistent. She's very organized. She's very on time. She is just an overall, what we like to call an involved student. She comes to class and she knows that she's there to learn, and so she puts every effort into that, and part of that is just being a very well organized student. So she does well in that area as well. She does ask for assistance when needed. She's able to verbalize those needs, so when she's confused or she's struggling, she does ask her teacher for help. For written expression, the teacher report indicates that the student does experience significant difficulty with written expression tasks, especially when she has to work independently. So when we're completing or she's completing those written tasks or those written sentences or anything that involves just her writing independently, it's a little bit harder for her. She becomes a little more frustrated. But overall, that was an area of need for her. Her writing mechanics and conventions. She does demonstrate a difficulty applying capitalization rules, punctuation, spelling patterns, and grammatical rules in her written work. She does not use complete sentences consistently, and she does have difficulty organizing and sequencing her written ideas. For written composition, she does struggle to write or simple or complex sentences and paragraphs. She does have difficulty expressing ideas clearly in writing and organizing her written work and using parts of speech correctly. Her graphic organizers that she has does not consistently support her independent written output without having an adult guidance. So basically, we have been giving her, or she has been given, the graphic organizers, and although they do help, they're just not completely meeting that need. They're not completely filling that gap. She does consistently have to have adult guidance from the teacher in the classroom. As far as mathematics, she's working below grade level according to teacher input. She continues to struggle despite having classroom instruction and intervention. She struggles with basic number knowledge, addition, subtraction, and understanding math concepts. She indicates weaknesses across math operations such as math facts, word problems, fractions, decimals, higher level math skills. She does not consistently demonstrate one-to-one correspondence, counting by twos, fives, or tens, or knowledge of the basic math facts. She does have difficulty in completing single and multi-digit addition and subtraction problems, including regrouping, and frequently requires manipulatives to complete the computation task. She also indicates that she reverses her numbers at times and struggles to understand grade level math problems. Overall, she does demonstrate the difficulty with solving word problems and applying math skills to real life situations. She does reflect a weakness in work completion and retaining instruction and understanding directions, locating information in math problems. She is engaged. She's eager to be engaged in math activities when provided with one-on-one support. I do believe that she feels more successful because she's having that one-on-one support. So having that adult help it encourages her. So she is eager to engage in math during that one-on-one time. For science and social studies, she's working below grade level in both science and social studies. She really has, when it comes to like the scientific problem solving strategy, comparing and contrasting, cause and effect, inferences, all of those things obviously come back to also some of the things that we were seeing in her reading and her writing, as well as just making those connections. So for her instructional support, she does demonstrate improved understanding when provided one-on-one guidance and adult support. When she has to work independently, she does tend to struggle to understand expectations and complete assignments. Overall, her total achievement, we gave her the Wyatt, which is her academic assessment. Overall, she was in the total of a very low range. Her reading was low average, her written expression was very low, and her mathematics was extremely low. For the reading skills for her word reading, it was very low. For reading comprehension, it was in the low average. For oral reading fluency, it was extremely low, and for reading fluency composite, it was also extremely low. So she does demonstrate some severe difficulty with word level reading and reading fluency, while her comprehension skills are comparatively a little stronger when her decoding demands are minimized. So another thing we were saying is when she's not having to decode those words and she's just seeing words that she knows, she's reading them word for word, but she understands more whenever she's not having to decode more. So the easier she's able to fluently read it and not have to decode a word to figure out what the word is, then obviously her comprehension skills are comparatively stronger. The discrepancy between decoding and comprehension represents a pattern of dyslexia in which the linguistic understanding exceeds the word reading efficiency. For written expression, for her spelling, she was in the low average. And for sentence composition, she was in the extremely low average. Her written expression is significantly impaired, particularly in sentence construction and written language organization. These weaknesses are consistent with her phonological memory deficits, her slow processing speed, and reduced automaticity, all of which interfere with efficient written output, and they are commonly associated with dyslexia as well. For mathematics, her standard score of 66 places her at the first percentile within the extremely low range. It does indicate severe difficulty with grade level math skills and suggests that the weaknesses in her working memory, processing speed, and language-based reasoning are interfering with her mathematical learning and performance. Based on the Wyatt, the mathematics skills were assessed using the math calculation and math problem solving subtest. On the math calculation, she earned a score of 58, placing her in the 0.3 percentile, which falls in the extremely low range. It does indicate significant difficulty with calculation accuracy and fluency. On the math problem solving test on Wyatt, she earned a standard score of 76, corresponding to the 5th percentile, which falls in the very low range. It does indicate difficulty applying math concepts to solve word problems through performance, though her performance was relatively stronger than calculation skills. So her math problem solving was a little bit stronger than her actual calculation skills. Overall, it does indicate severe weaknesses in calculation skills and significant difficulty with applied problem solving, with calculation skills notably more impaired than her conceptual problem solving. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, I know this is a lot to take in. Okay, for her oral language,